All right. Well, welcome to another episode in the Run Breiter Podcast. We have on an awesome guest and friend, Colin Walters. Now, Colin, what's really interesting about Colin, I met him through the fun cyber world of Instagram. He noticed one of me listening, or he actually listened to one of my podcast episodes. I believe it was with Matt Choi when we had him on, I think a month or two ago at this point. Time flies. And he reached out, just saying that he enjoyed my content and he has a podcast as well. He's a runner. He loves fitness and loves life, really. And going on your podcast, Colin, was an awesome experience. And I figured, let's switch it around. Let's learn about you. Let's focus on you today and hear your story and what you're working on. So, Colin, I'm going to hand it over to you. I'd love you to give an introduction to all the fans of the Run Breiter community here, and we can see how things go today.
Yeah, Sam. Well, I appreciate you having me on, and I was excited to see when you reached out, and happy to jump on your show after you had jumped onto mine. And so, hello everybody. I'm Colin Walters, and as Sam alluded to, I have my own podcast called the Seeds of Success Podcast. So we talk about a lot of things with health, fitness, running, success geared towards business, sales, entrepreneurship, like whole array of different things. But those are some of the primary things. But yeah, man, I'm from the greater Seattle area originally, Gig Harbor, Washington. If anybody is super familiar with the area, I'm currently living down in Corvallis, Oregon. And so if anybody's in the Eugene or the Portland area, big running community out here, obviously. Sam, obviously you got, Pre behind you there on the wall. So yeah. I'm sure people are probably familiar with this area of the world. But yeah, man, I work in technology sales, and that is my career. I get, 9 to 5, if you will. That is, oftentimes before 9 and after 5. But and then I do some things on the side. I run an Airbnb in our house here. I have my own podcast and do now getting into some more of the content creation world and trying to organically grow those platforms. And so, yeah, man, just trying to connect with good people, live an epic life, and maximize the time that we have here on this planet. So I'm, couple things about me, and take it with wherever you want to go there, Sam.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I guess, a good place to start, I think I want to really dive into what influenced you to get into both creating a podcast and content creation, because I think, there's a lot of people out there who have different passions, but there's very few people who actually take that passion to another level, right? And try to give back what that passion has given them. And so I'd love to hear what inspired you to actually take that first step into content creation and going forward with the podcast.
I think it's a good question. And what it stems from for me is something I think about often, is really taking a step back to think, what am I naturally good at? And what are my natural gifts and strengths? And for me, I believe that I have strengths in building relationships, connecting with people, speaking to a degree. And, you do so many things in life where you either hear little compliments here and there, to where it got to a point where I was like, you know what? I'd always thought about starting a podcast. I thought that it was within the realm of what I could and should at least be trying to do. And, if I were to take a step back and think about my college career, I initially went in to do sports broadcasting. So kind of in line with communication and sports, both passions of mine, both things that I was pretty knowledgeable and good at naturally. And so this was kind of that, almost natural step for me, was to just try it out. It was something that I had talked about wanting to do for a while. And so at one point I was like, you know what? No better time than now to actually just do this thing. And so it was actually during COVID that I initially kicked off the podcast. And so it was seemed like a perfect time, right? We all had plenty of time and plenty of extra time being at home. And so the natural curiosities and those interests popped back up to the surface. And, I felt like this was a tremendous time to start it. And so I launched 3 episodes, loved it. And then a lot of life happened, and I definitely made some excuses for why I didn't continue with it in that time. And then a year went by, and it was time to kick this thing back off. And so, it was basically just getting back into action. And so, to your point, I wanted to really just try something that I felt was within the realm of something I was naturally good at, but also had a passion for at the same time. And I wanted to give myself a shot, at seeing what I could actually do, and with the intent to really help people and really help add value to people's lives through conversations, through things that I've learned, because I feel like, sort of an each one teach one philosophy is important, right? We all learn a lot of things in life through relationships, careers, business, sports, like whatever we're doing, there's a lot to learn. And, I think that we have different avenues to give those things back also and teach others. And so I feel like this is a tremendous platform to be able to do that through the podcast. And now getting into the content creation on the side, I've always had like a pretty good, I think it's probably terrible, and I probably just have terrible self-awareness, but I think like a pretty good creative nature. And it's something that I just want to always try continuing to tap into, because I always love it so much. And it's always fun when I'm doing it. And I always like exercising that part of my brain. It's just something that, with so much going on in your life, it can be hard to like carve out the time, but it's like, to the point of like what I see you doing, Sam, which is, if it's important to you, you make the time for it. And so it's one of those things that I'm starting to make the time for now, and really try to, help people, connect with people. Hence, that's how we're talking here today. You never know where a reach out and connection could lead. So those are some of the thoughts that come to my head with how I started a podcast, why I wanted to get into it, and just some of the ideas behind the content creation as well.
Yeah. I love all of what you said there. And I mean, talking about giving yourself a shot, that was something that really, like, I relate to that. And I think a lot of people want to give themselves a shot sometimes with anything in life that might be a little risky or potentially out of your comfort zone. Taking that first step and actually initiating it is an incredible thing to be able to do, because it's, for so many people, they just never give themselves that shot. And I mean, I do think from the content that I've seen that you create, as well as listening to a few episodes of the podcast, not only are you someone who is creative, and I think and the cool thing about being a creator, right, is like you start off as someone who is born creative, and then you learn how to really enhance your inner creativity that you have. So not only have I seen great stuff, but I know that you're going to continue making more creative content as you go on. We both will. And that's really the fun part about it. And that's really where a lot of the fulfillment comes, right? Learning and, making quality content that connect with more and more people. And I really love how you mentioned when you were younger, in college, that is actually not too young, but like you were looking at doing sports broadcasting. Fun fact, I actually, when I was like 10, 11 years old, that was something I wanted to do. I used to watch New York Mets games, and I turn off the volume and I do it. But I was like, there's only 3 announcers to the Mets. I'm not going to be able to do this. But it's so funny how both of us had that same interest. But instead of like working in the corporate world, probably struggling for 10 to 15 years to get to that point, we're doing our own thing. We're setting the own rules for what we are broadcasting and talking about really whatever we want. So, I'm so happy, bro, seriously, that first of all, that you're on here today, that you took that first step, you gave yourself a shot. And, like I keep saying, you're going to create some incredible things, whether it's on the podcast, your Instagram. I know you have a YouTube now too. As platforms change over time, I'm sure you're going to adapt to that also. So that's really great, man. Now, I do want to shift gears a little bit too. I want to talk about Oregon, because I find Oregon to be fascinating.
Oregon, man.
I've never been there, but I know I will be there within the next 1 to 2 years. I have to go. Tell me about life in Oregon. What made you move there? I know obviously it's an amazing running community, but I'd love to hear some more details about that life.
I love the question, because it's something that at this point in time, I'm super passionate about talking about, because Oregon right now in this fall and autumn time is so gorgeous. And I live in Corvallis, and please somebody fact check me if I'm just totally out of whack here. But rumor has it that Corvallis, which is home to Oregon State University, has the most unique species of trees on any college campus in America. And so I may just be totally off my rocker, but I did hear that from multiple sources here in the Corvallis area. And it's something like, you walk around here, it is hard to go and see so many diverse and different colors anywhere else. It's so gorgeous. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Awesome. And that's just first thing that comes to my mind. I've been in Corvallis for about a year, call it. And so I moved down here because my now fiance and I, we are both from the Seattle area. And then she got into medical school that brought us down to Corvallis. And so it was pretty crazy, Sam. We had no idea where we were going to be last summer for her medical school. She got a call on a Wednesday and said, hey, we had a spot open up. We want to offer it to you. We packed up the car, headed down that Sunday, and drove to a town called Lebanon, Oregon, which we had never heard of in our life. We had to look it up on a map for even where we were going to be driving to. And then Corvallis is like the neighboring little town that's about like 25 minutes to the west of Lebanon, which is where that school is. And so we live in Corvallis, which is home to Oregon State University, home of the Beavers. And so that's what brought us down here. And so we've basically just uprooted our life from Seattle to Corvallis on the whim of one phone call. And we found ourselves a home that's been awesome to call our home. We have made a lot of friends down here through her school, through locals in the community. One thing I think that's important to touch on, Sam, is, getting out and actually involved in the community, because it was something that was a difficult transition at first, with just the whole like uproot yourself, go start a life somewhere you've never been before, right? Where you don't know anybody. And so, I mean, I was hitting up my realtor for, where's who do I reach out to for plumbing, for electricity, for buying plants for the house, like all sorts of things. He's on speed dial basically as like my go-to source. But I was able to branch out more than just my realtor at that point, which was, I reached out to a local triathlon club and got involved there. And so we had group rides every Thursday. And now we're getting into the winter months, which will be like swimming on and runs on the weekends. I just reached out to our local Toastmasters club. And so I'm going to go jump in and join them here on Monday nights, and just getting out of the house because I work remote, and getting to local coffee shops. And I joined Anytime Fitness, because they have a stair stepper, and I love just ripping the stair stepper. I'm nursing some hip injury right now, so I'm a little sidetracked sidelined from running. So I'm just on that stair stepper. But also, it was really nice to get out into the community and drive around, continue to familiarize, because there's a lot that Oregon has to offer, and it's really nice to just get out of the house and drive around and force a commute. Never thought I'd say that, but I really enjoy. I'll call my mom or dad, or talk to somebody I hadn't spoken to in a while, call a friend, or listen to a podcast, create time for the audiobooks, right? So it just created a nice sort of little diversity to the day. So yeah, man, that's where I'm at. We're like 45 minutes to the coast of Oregon, which is gorgeous. If anybody listening has not been to the Oregon coast, definitely carve out some time in the near future. I'll actually be going to Cannon Beach here this coming weekend, which I'm super excited about for upcoming birthday trip. And so it's just a really pretty place to be in the world, and definitely grateful to have been stationed, without really much of a say here in Oregon, and Corvallis specifically. So that's a little bit about Oregon.
Amazing. Yeah. And I think what you're talking about in the sense of finding ways to get involved in a community, that's so important, right? And I think some communities like a New York City, we have so many things going on everywhere. You can't miss it. But then there's smaller towns and mid-sized cities, and you name it. But it doesn't matter how big the city is, right? You can always find a way to connect to others, especially now that COVID, is pretty much behind us. Like, there's no restrictions that I've really seen or heard of. The occasional person wearing a mask, but besides that, you can really do whatever you want right now. I'm sure you could speak to this, and you have spoken to it in the sense that it is definitely so important when you move somewhere new to find ways to get involved, find what you're interested in, and do that. And I'm so happy that you were able to do that within Oregon. Now, I do want to talk about some of your fitness journey, because I know that, first of all, I know you mentioned you're nursing a hip right now, so hopefully you recover soon from that. Any status on the timing on that, or how's that looking for you?
Yeah, in line with like trying new things and taking action, right? It was something that I couldn't quite figure out what it was. I was sick and tired of watching countless YouTube videos, and Google searches, trying to figure this thing out. It just wasn't getting better. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to reach out to this massage therapist who had great reviews. Went and saw her. Wasn't the right fit, but she recommended that I connect with 2 other individuals in the community. And so I reached out to them. I've been going to this chiropractor that has like an awesome practice. She was highly touted in the community. I've seen her a couple times, and today, actually about an hour ago, was my last visit to her, and she has released me to go run. And so I'm super excited, and I'm going to give it my first go back here this coming Sunday on my birthday. So it's like pretty perfect timing. I'm very excited for it. So, there's just a lot to be learned through when you have setbacks and injuries. And so it's always a great time for me to sit back and reflect and practice neutral thinking, trying not to go negative with not being able to run right, but also being proactive and trying to think, what can I do? What's within my control? Who can I talk to? Who can I go see? Like who potentially has solutions to this, along with like, how to stay proactive in the future, even when we are feeling good. So yeah, I got good news today and kicking things off this coming weekend back into the running game. So it's been nice, man. I've just been basically doing everything that I can that doesn't involve running. So biking, stair stepper, Metcon workouts, hit a CrossFit workout at the local CrossFit gym. And so just like still trying to do everything that I can, like core work, just trying to stay in the game as much as I can to be ready to go, because we do have, pretty good sized calendar for 2023 with a couple marathons, Ironman Coeur d'Alene in there, and then looking in September at some bigger trail runs. That's something I like to do. So I know you probably want to dive into something there. So I'll go ahead and pause, let you take it.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, so happy to hear that on your birthday this Sunday, you're going to be able to run again. That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty good timing.
Yeah, great timing.
Yeah.
And we spoke about it. Like I had some hamstring stuff going on myself, and it's tough, right? But finding ways to expedite that process, I think, is important. And then just like you said, just taking that time and like understanding the injury, but also keeping yourself busy, doing other activities is such a great way to handle it. And I'm glad you obviously kept your fitness going during that time. But yeah, I have so many questions on your running journey, your fitness journey, your triathlon journey. Let's start with the beginning though. What first got you into, endurance based sports in the first place? I'd love to hear what first got Colin into this love that we both share.
Yeah, it's a good question, because it's not like there was never that point in time where I set out and I was like, I'm going to be the greatest runner ever. Like I'd never had any of that moment. I had been active in sports growing up. I didn't do cross country. I did track and field in middle school, but didn't continue with it in high school. It conflicted with baseball, basketball, that sort of thing. And so then it was really about like maybe towards the later stages of college, or like really post college, that I just got into running, because I always loved it for the mental clarity I got. I loved just getting out and moving freely, and running for me was just a way for me to go and process what was going on in my life. Like that was, the first stages of actually getting into running was just like me trying to get out, get fresh air, move my body, enjoy the freedom that and the liberation that comes with that, and just allow my brain to go. Like it was just a release for me, man. And I just fell in love with it. And so then it was just small steps. Like, again, it was never like, I didn't even know what ultra marathons were at that point in time. When I first started out, I had no idea what an ultra was. Like a marathon was so far-fetched for me. And so, it was like 5K and then 10K. And then I remember signing up for my first half marathon, and just was like so regimented on the training program that I just loved the process so much. I'd be so excited for the hills on Tuesdays, and then the speed work on Thursdays, and the long run on the weekends. And my mom, I would say that a lot of it stems from my mom. Like she was big runner, definitely runs like in the blood. She didn't pick it up till her later years either though. So it was, something to where like we both had a similar journey. I would say, I think I picked it up earlier than she did, but also my uncle is somebody who I look up to in the running and fitness space. And I've talked to him a lot about it. So it's like, within a couple members of our family. But yeah, man, it was just like, I just went out for my own personal reasons, fell in love with it. I love just like how simple running is. You just throw on your shoes and get out the door, and so it's so easy to do. And, I just loved that, again, the process of what it took to train for the half marathon, and then the actual feeling of running a really good race was something that was a very elating feeling, and something that brought so much satisfaction. Because just like with anything in life that we are building towards or striving to achieve, the more work that you put into it, and the more intentional effort that you put in, and the more commitment that you have towards something, the greater the feeling when all is said and done, and especially when you execute it well. And so it was just a really good feeling. And so that's how I really got started with running. And then from there, set out to train for a marathon. And so went and ran a marathon, and did like pretty well with it. It wasn't like, I did it well. I came out feeling really good, which is always great after a race. And from there, I have some friends that were into like trails and ultras, and that's how I got into running some ultra marathons, doing 50K and then a couple 40 plus milers. And so that's where I've, it's all over the board now. And so that, it's like started with a super simple, get out the door and let me clear my head and get some fresh air, to then whole journey of running that I wouldn't trade for the world, man. Like I love fitness, I love health and endurance, everything. Running is always number one though.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can really appreciate how for you, it all started with just putting on the shoes, getting outside, and enjoying the process and the feeling that running gave you just for the soul, mental side. It really sounds like all that clarity that it's
Totally.
given you and still gives you to this day, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And to then want to take it to the next level and start doing some different races. And it sounds like constantly improving the distance and striving towards different things and different journeys is really cool. And I mean, I got to ask you about the ultras too, because like for me, I've been doing marathons for a little bit now, over like the last year or two, and I'm starting to think a little bit about the idea of ultras. Would you say ultras are your preferred race more because of the community aspect of it? I know you mentioned you have some friends who are into them, or do you just enjoy running on trails through races more, or is it even something else possibly?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think about it often, and I love them both. Is like I love running fast and training to be fast on the roads and on pavement and for a race. So like that is, I have Austin Marathon that I'm signed up for in February. I have so see you there. I have Eugene Marathon that I'm signed up for in April, with the intention to qualify for Boston. Would be great to qualify for New York. I'd say that's a little BHAG there. And, and then I have Ironman down the road. But then September rolls around and, it's like prime time, get out on the trails. It's super beautiful. It's not like too hot. Like conditions are pretty good. You're not having to deal with like too much snow at that time. And so they're just totally different experiences, Sam. And being out in the trails, it really is incomparable to anything, with just like you being out in the mountains with you and the ground. And it just is extremely breathtaking at times. And it is just quite an adventure that is hard to describe, obviously, as I'm struggling to put it into words, man. And like, we'll go out and have a couple buddies, like there's three of us, and we'll go out and get out into the trails and go do our own thing. And we have one guy who basically leads us through his, like, he'll sit there and study the maps and the topography and like everything that we need to know for where to go. And he's have it all mapped out. And we kind of just say, show up and cool, let's go and go get after it. And, we'll bring our packs, our food, our calories, and, be set for the day and come back, 9 to 12 hours later back to the car. And, typically pretty hurt and feeling, great that we're back, but looking back at just an incredible day. And it's just, there's nothing like getting to the summit of a mountain and looking at where you came from, looking at what's around you. It's incredible. Like we live we're very privileged to live in, the Pacific Northwest, and, it's just indescribable views up in the mountains. And like, it's just amazing where your feet can take you, Sam. And, so for anybody listening, like again, going back to the start, it starts with putting on the shoes, seeing where it can go, but then your natural curiosity will ultimately take over. And, you start thinking, what would it be like in the trails? And then you go find a trail, and then you go find a mountain, and then you see or hear of other people doing it. And they either ask you or you ask them, like, hey, you mind if I try it out? And it just is like, this super cool journey about, you just don't know where it's going to go. But trails, pavement, man, I love them both for their different reasons. And that's, my running journey combines both of them for sure. My fiance Shelby hates that I love hills. I just love hills. They're my favorite things to go tackle. There's nothing like going one-on-one with a hill. And so, I love that. And I think that, hills make you stronger and more resilient, and you'll definitely get your hills and elevation gain in the mountains. So yeah, man, there's a lot to like about both of them. I love them both for their different reasons, and definitely would encourage anybody who's even slightly interested to go get out in the mountains and test out the trails.
Phenomenal. Yeah, that's so great, man. And that's something, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to doing myself. And I mean, it's very motivating, the way in which you describe those experiences and your connection with the trails. I'm sure there's many people who may have never ran or who are runners for a long time who can speak to the fact that, you know, everything you're speaking about really inspiring. But I'm curious, I mean, as far as beginner runners, because I think a lot of people who listen are beginner runners, you know, besides your motivating statements there, I mean, what advice would you have for someone who is a little bit concerned about running, thinking that it might not be for them? They've ran a couple times and they're not getting that running high, that great feeling that I know you and I both have gotten through our different experiences so many different times, you know, to get into it, stay consistent with it, and really give it a good chance. What advice would you have?
I think, first thing always comes down to put on the shoes and step out the door, right? Just that, and just creating a habit, assuming that, you actually do really want to test out running and see if it is for you, right? Because there's so many things in life where, some things we just gravitate towards naturally. Like, I think you and I, Sam, just gravitate towards running. We enjoy doing it. There's plenty of days where I definitely don't enjoy running. Like, plenty of days where I'm just like grinding through it because the work just needs to get done. I'll tell you that right now. Not every day is just rainbow and sunshine, especially here in the Pacific Northwest. There's a lot of rain that you're running through. But for anybody like just getting started and just put on the shoes, make it an easy habit, right? Put the shoes by the door. When you see them, there they are. Put them on, lace them up, step out the door, see what happens. One thing my uncle told me way back when was, days I'm not feeling like running, put on the shoes, get out the door and run for 5 minutes. Set the timer, run for 5 minutes, see what happens. More likely than not, you're going to keep going. More likely than not, you're going to get into it, right? And so, but also give yourself the out, like just give yourself, hey, I'm going to run for 5 minutes. I'm not feeling it, I'm going to stop. More likely than not, you're not going to stop and you're going to keep going. And so, just keeping it super small and not getting overwhelmed with like comparing yourself to other people. Like I think that's something that I've struggled with in the past, and plenty of other people probably struggle with it. Just the whole comparison game, right? Just go out just for you, right? Like go out in order to, for whatever your reason might be, right? Maybe you want to just test out running. Okay. Go out and just do it for you. Like, don't bring your phone. You just get totally disconnected and just go and be, maybe some people have like health and fitness goals where they are, training for that 5K or, they're training for that 10K. And this is all part of the process. Like, just commit yourself to the process of doing it and go do that race. And then once you've completed that race, after having done the work and you fulfilled that commitment to yourself, then reevaluate if you really did enjoy it. Because some things may not be for everybody, and that's totally fine, right? Maybe you do, through that process, you find that wasn't for you, but you went and found, maybe you got into cycling after that because you met somebody that you were running with and they introduced you to that, and that was actually your thing, right? But if you're like just getting into running and wanting to try it out, like pick something, pick a goal, commit to doing it, and just go through the process of doing it. And then, take that step back afterwards and see, how did you like it? How did you enjoy it? What did you enjoy about it? What did you learn from it? Was that something that you would want to do again? Because, those are just questions that you'll ask yourself as you go through it after it's all said and done. And, I think that's just a couple things that come to my mind for anybody getting started. And just, again, just compare yourself to where you were yesterday, where you were last week, a couple weeks ago. Forget what anybody else is doing, right? I think it's good to be inspired by other people for sure. And I think that I myself have definitely been inspired to go take action while witnessing what other people that I admire are doing. But it's still super important to compare who you are and where you are to where you were, right? And so I think that's huge. I think those are a couple things that come to mind. So if anything else comes up, I'll chime in. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a handful of great takeaways there. To the two ones that really stand out to me was one, the advice that you were given: go out and run 5 minutes and see how you
5 minutes.
I mean, that's I haven't heard someone say that, but I mean, that's so true. Like, to just like not put too much pressure on yourself, but at least put a little bit of pressure on yourself to try it and see how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. I doubt if I ever go out on a day I don't feel like running and I put in 5 minutes, that I won't be able to put in another 5, 10, 20, 30, whatever it might be. And then the comparing yourself to other people advice as well. I mean, so many people say that, but it's so true. And I think what makes that challenging sometimes is that the reason that we often get into anything is because someone influenced you to do it in the first place. So then after that, you're continuing to compare yourself, but it's really important to take a step back and say, okay, yeah, this person did influence me, but I'm not that person. I'm not influencing someone on this yet. I'm just trying to learn if I like it.
Yeah.
And do it for yourself at that point, which is just, it's such great advice. It's so important. And I see so many people who are running and they just get into it for the first time this year and they're hearing my times and like, oh my God, like I won't ever be able to do that. And it's like, that's not why you're running though. You're not running to be better than me. If that's what you want to do, like, okay, great, you can try, but like run because of all the amazing benefits that come with it. And, you know, you're going to see some great love and happiness for life with running and other aspects that come with it. So
Can I touch on something there, Sam? You're touching on all the other benefits that come with running, and running for me is such a keystone habit for me, in the sense that running positively impacts everything else in my life, right? So running has positively impacted my health, because then I am in the mindset of wanting to choose better things to put into my body, wanting to stay hydrated more, needing to stay hydrated more, wanting to eat the better foods, right? I'll still have my granola bowl at the end of the night with maybe a little bit too much peanut butter, but you know what? For the most part, the nutrition that's going in my body is heavily influenced by running and by the lifestyle that I choose to live through health and fitness and sweating every day. And, you know, I have had the best thoughts and ideas during my runs. And it is like insane to think about the mental clarity on decision making and problem solving that I get through running. And it is one of those things where, if you know, if I'm working on something or there's an issue with, you know, career, relationship, life, whatever it may be, and I'm out on a run, there's a good chance I'm going to figure out at least something about that to resolve within the 1 to 2 hours that I'm out there. And, you know, like for me, being in motion and movement is what helps my brain start actually functioning to its fullest capacity. I'm pretty brain dead. Like if I'm sitting and trying to solve a problem, like just staring at a piece of paper, Sam, and I'm just sitting there, I'll probably figure it out. But the minute that I get up and start moving and get outside and fresh air, right, and go do something that's going to instill confidence in myself and, you know, get a sweat going and get blood flowing and movement in the body and synapses firing, like I'm going to have so much more clarity and confidence and thoughts and ideas. And there's just nothing that compares to it for me. So, you know, that's just the last little tidbit I wanted to touch on when you're talking about all the added benefits to running for me.
Yeah, I literally feel the exact same way. I mean, half the content that I end up making are ideas that I think of while I'm running. And I don't know all the ideas that you think about while you're running, but I mean, the brain does some phenomenal things during it, which, you know, for those listening, I mean, I've spoke about this, but we have someone who feels the same exact way. And I know most runners, we really gain so much creativity, wisdom through the process of running, which is so great. But shifting gears, I want to talk about cycling and swimming. No pun intended on the shifting gears part, but
Very nice.
yeah, I mean, I know we talk about running a lot here, which is great, but I mean, I think there's plenty of people that want to incorporate other fitness activities into their running and do triathlons, Ironmans and whatnot, or maybe do those sports alone. So how'd you get involved in that first, Colin?
Yeah, full transparency. I have very, very little experience. I'll tell you that straight up. So my only experience in a triathlon at this point in my life is one sprint triathlon that I signed up for, where my bike chain fell off in the first 2 miles and I walked my bike back to the finish line. That is my one attempt at a sprint triathlon. And an Ironman is something I've always wanted to do. And I know that I'm capable of doing it with the proper training and the proper strategy in place and the execution on it. I know that for a fact I can do it. And so that's what I'm signed up for this coming year. I've done a lot of, you know, indoor cycling for sure. I have my bike that I have on a trainer, the Wahoo Kicker. And so, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in the saddle on mostly trainer road, like 97% trainer road over the last probably 4 or 5 years. And then a couple instances on Zwift, but just indoor cycling in order to actually execute on like quality workouts on the bike. I use that as a source of cross training for running. Cycling and indoor training has always helped my running. another thing that I'll say right off the bat. It has always helped me be able to endure longer, have more power in my strides and in my gait. And so that's something that I just can't speak highly enough about. And so and I do have, a fair amount of road experience, not anything compared to like, anybody who's been doing triathlons for a while, but it was nice to get out and find a group around here to go ride with on that weekly basis here in Corvallis. And so I've been riding outdoors pretty, I would say infrequently, but consistently enough to where, I've had my little scrapes and bumps and bruises and I've put in my time to get confident and comfortable on the bike in city, especially being around Seattle was pretty crazy, just trying to navigate through traffic and everything. But so that's like cycling experience. And then swimming, something that I can count maybe on one hand the number of times that I've walked into an actual lap pool and gotten a swim in. I am typically that guy who will go out to the cabin with friends or go over to a buddy's cabin or go out to this race that's going on and like see a lake or something and then say, all right, cool, I'm going to swim to the other side and back. Like that's typically what my experience with swimming has been. And so it's something that I have never trained in swimming. It's something that I know that I can do just through my experience of doing it in the past. And I was typically like kind of just good at doing it, oddly enough. So that's like kind of my cycling and swimming journey there. We have a pool in our like HOA neighborhood here. So I got in there a couple of times this summer and just did some lap swims, like 45, 60 minutes, that sort of thing. So, but definitely super effective for when I was like sore from a workout and just needing to do some form of cardio, cross training, low impact, that sort of thing. So I definitely like to use the pool and swimming when like if and when that is needed. But that's some of my experience with cycling and swimming when it comes to the actual triathlon piece. So yeah.
That's terrific. Yeah, I mean that's wild though with swimming, how you were able to swim across a lake really without like training and that natural talent. Obviously, I'm sure like being someone that's been so active and fit through your life, that has definitely helped that. But I certainly can't. I don't know how big this lake is you're talking about, but I'll do like 15, 20 laps in an indoor pool and I'm tired after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that and I'm probably terrible. Like anybody who knows swimming at all probably look at me and say, wow, that is a terrible swimmer right there. So, but at the very least, I can make my way across to the other side and back and feel confident that I'm not going to just like fully submerge myself and be stranded. So no, so I feel good and confident just when I get in the water. And so yeah, I don't know. It's not something that I've dedicated a lot of time to. So, for anybody listening that swims or, knows about swimming, I'm by no definitely terrible in comparison to anybody who does it. So
No problem. Well, I'm also curious. I want to talk a little bit about the races you're signed up for, as well as some more details about racing in general, because I know there's a lot of people who listen to the podcast who are getting into races, maybe training for new races, whatever the case may be. So I know you're doing Austin, of course, we're both doing that. You mentioned that Ironman. Those other two races are either of those ultras, or what are the distances of those races?
yeah, so Austin is one that, I'm really thinking about how I want to approach Austin because I've been set back from training. And so I want to be smart. And, I remember hearing a while back, again, uncle who knows, been through a lot, told me a lot. He said, hey, like take care of your body and you can run forever. So it's like something that consistently stays with me. So knowing that I'm literally just about to get back into running, Austin's in about three months away, something along those lines. I just really want to be smart with it. And so I've even considered just even dropping down from the marathon to a half in order to just still get out, be a part of the experience of the whole Austin City Marathon, go see people that I know in Austin, link up with you, Sam, see you out there at the marathon. But I just want to make sure that I'm being smart with it. And so right now I'm just like going to be super gradual and getting back into things, go back to the old school, like 10% increase in mileage each week, like really taking a step back and going to be smart and strategic about getting back into running specifically. And so Austin, kind of not quite sure what's going to happen. Come April, Eugene Marathon rolls around, and that's marathon 26.2 miles. And so that's one where I have set focus, like number one goal, qualifying for Boston. Running sub 257 is the goal there. And so from that point, I am looking at doing Ironman Oceanside, so 70.3 half Ironman Oceanside, which is in April, I believe, as well. I need to you can fact check that, but I believe that's in April, just so that I can go and get my bearings in an Ironman race. And then Ironman Coeur d'Alene is full Ironman in June 25th, and so that's what I have on the radar. And then I was looking at some 50 milers. I don't know if I want to go and venture into a 100 miler at this point for next summer, although I have thought about it. I just need to see how my running's progressing and then be able to take it from there. But 50 mile for September is what I'll be aiming for there.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm so excited that you have all these races planned. It's going to be really fun to hear about how everything goes, and best of luck with all your training. I know you're someone who's going to be smart about it and really keep good care of your body, which is really important, but you're going to crush it. Now, I'm curious, I know you mentioned like the half marathon that you had done was like kind of like that first longer race, but how many, do you have like an approximate of like how many races of like half marathon length or longer you've done at this point, or is there too many to count at this point?
It's really hard to pinpoint. I have plenty of races that I've done. When I take like if we're talking, man, that's a tough question. I've never actually sat down and counted. I should probably count that. But when I take everything into consideration, right, like how many trail runs I've done where we're out doing, there's probably about, I would say, 7 to 8 ultras like that I've done that are an ultra, meaning anything beyond 26.2 miles is technically considered an ultra, right? So we've done some 27 milers, 30 milers, 50K. We did a lap around Mount Hood last year. We did a race at Mount St. Helens. A couple buddies did Bigfoot and 73. I did the Bigfoot 40, which was 43 miles around Mount St. Helens, which pretty epic course. But when I take like everything into consideration, man, I don't really have a number to be honest with you, but there's a lot of miles that have been run over good amount of time. And it all started by just getting out the door, putting the shoes on, and looking to just get some fresh air and clear the head. That's where it all started.
Amazing. Would you say there's a favorite race that you've done, or is that another tough one?
Yeah, no doubt. Bigfoot was for sure my favorite race. It was just like, there was our buddies out there, our fiancés, girlfriends, parents, and there's just like being out in the ultra community is super cool. And everybody is just like, Sam, it's really inspiring to see so many people struggling and hurting with the best attitudes in the world. Like it just is so remarkable to me to see so many people that come in that are hurting, man, and just broken, and they're at mile 65 and 68, and they got nothing but a smile on their face and just needing a rest and to get some calories and to sit for a minute and then to get back up and get after it. It just is always, it's just a very cool atmosphere to be around. There's like race day energy, regardless if it's ultras, regardless if it's marathons, half, 10K, there's nothing like just actual race day energy. And I just love it from, you're about to do New York City Marathon, right? Like that biggest marathon in the world. And so that is going to be some crazy energy, atmosphere, just excitement to be around. And it's so cool, man. And so, that's just the best part about it. Like, yeah, I can think Bigfoot because of where we were, like, doing an entire lap around Mount St. Helens. That in itself is just epic. Like we're sleeping in the back of my car the night before and brought all of our camping gear. And it's just a super unique experience. But there's still like, there's still nothing just like race day energy. So they're all amazing. If I could pinpoint one, Bigfoot, because of who was there, our family, our loved ones, people that we were able to celebrate with, encourage each other on, and just like the whole community itself. Awesome organized race. And so, but yeah, man, like any sort of race, you're going to get some sort of electric energy. That's always exciting.
Yeah, I feel the same exact way about races. That energy is unbelievable. Like, doesn't feel like it's real sometimes, but it really is. And it's such a special thing that I think everyone should at least try out, because I've had so many great experiences with it. Another one though, that this might stump you too, but is there a race that you're like, before I die, I need to do this, that you haven't done, that's not on the radar quite yet, but is there like a race that you know is like a once in a lifetime opportunity that you want to make sure to do before you leave this earth?
Yeah, for sure. There's a couple that come to mind. The first is the marathon in Patagonia. That ever since I laid my eyes on this marathon in Patagonia, it has been, I mean, it's literally on my vision board here behind us. And it is just something that, as the minute that I saw it, it was something that I knew that I wanted to set out to do. I was just writing it into my 10-year vision plan about how I'm going to do it on my 40th birthday. Honestly, I'm like, why wait until 40? Well, maybe let's do it next year or 2 years, or something way sooner. I don't really want to wait. Not a fan of waiting for things like that. And so that's one. And then if someday it ever happens, running UTMB, it would be amazing. It's like the arguably like top trail run in the world. Have some other ideas for like Leadville 100. I think would be super cool to do. Western States, I'm always inspired by the people who run Badwater 135. That's a crazy race. But then, of course, knocking out Boston and New York City Marathon. Like, of course, those are on the radar as well. But so a lot come to mind. Patagonia is the first one there. And then obviously just knocking out Boston and New York City Marathon. I got to carry on tradition for the family, man. Mom's run it twice. I think my uncle has run it. I know he's qualified for it, and I think he qualified at Chicago, and then I believe ran Boston as well. So got to carry on family tradition, man.
That's spectacular. Yeah, I mean, so many cool races that you're aware of, and I'm sure like some of them I haven't even heard of. I mean, a lot I have, but like there's so many cool opportunities out there, and I'm looking forward to seeing you get involved in some of these in the future. The Patagonia one, I'm sure that one's epic. Like, and that's
sure looks like
you have that on a vision board, because those vision boards are really important just to like showcase what's important to you and valued in life and things that you want to do one day. So I'm glad you have one. That's great.
Yeah, I think that I mean, what you look at every day is very important. You see it every day. So, it kind of goes in line with what we're consuming, what we're listening to, who we're around, the words that we are speaking. I'm by no means perfect at all. I'll tell you right now, my fiance would attest to that. However, what you would also attest to is that I really give a solid effort to be very particular and intentional with the words that I use and the words that I speak, because I'm a firm believer that what we put out is, gonna come back in one way or another, man. So, yeah, like that vision board is huge to be able to see like where we're actually looking to go, and just being super intentional about the life that we want to create.
Amazing. Well, I want to ask you one more question before we tell everyone where to find you. I think, there's so many different aspects in life that you're crushing and that you're pursuing, whether it is your content creation, podcast work that you're doing, the amazing running experiences that you've had and that you plan to have that are coming up and that you are looking towards the future on even further out, as well as the fact that you're getting into this, world of triathlons and Ironmans. And then also, I mean, you're working at a technology company, crushing it there, I'm sure as well. I mean, you're doing so much, and you have such a great like tone when you speak about these things. I mean, you spoke about the fact that you do take everything you say carefully because you feel it's a representation of who you are and what you want to get out in the world. And I think that that's so important, right? But you're really taking on a lot and like just doing it in a really inspiring way. For people out there who, might be listening to this and are like, wow, like I want to be 50% of what Colin is, or just find ways to find the fulfillment and happiness that you have with all the things that you're involved with. Where would you, what type of wisdom would you have to share? Do you have like a good quote or like just a good piece of advice for someone who might be listening to this, whether it's, in the running, the creation side of things, the professional side of things? Yeah, I think that's it's a really good question. I'd be curious to hear about.
Yeah, and it is a good question. And there's, like I still feel like I'm at that point, right? Like I think it comes down to really being able to take a step back and truly appreciate where we are and appreciate where we've come from. And the quote that comes to my head is somebody that we've all had our setbacks in life, right? And I had a mentor who was working with me who said, Colin, you have to have been where you were to get to where you are. And that has stuck with me to this day. And it was something that, I use as a stepping stone to then forecast, that point in time to getting to where I wanted to be. And then looking back and knowing that that's where I was at that time. Right. And so setting a goal, reaching it, raising the bar, but goal meaning anything, right? Goal meaning a desire that you have, a dream that you have, somebody that you want to help. Any sort of, maybe a lot of people want to do some sort of volunteer work or get involved in their community. Like, it means so many different things to so many people. And so I think if we can just like truly appreciate where we are and what we've done, I think that's like really the first step is to really just be super present in that moment of appreciating where we are, Sam, and like how far we've actually come. And then from that point, not being content with it either. And I could just be totally wrong. And maybe I'm going about it the wrong way, but I just am like, don't want to ever be content with what I've done. Like, I have a lot of appreciation for where I'm at. And by no means, Sam, am I here without every single person that's helped me get to where I am. Like, there are so many people within my life, professionally and personally, that have been and that have attributed to me being exactly where I am. And I'm very grateful for those people and what I've learned from them. And so, but I also just don't want to ever be content. Like, that's my, just a big fear that I have is just like not living into my fullest potential. And so just like continuing to do things that we are A, resisting, and B, fearful of, right? Because I think it's when we are able to acknowledge those things that we're resisting and fearful of, and then we actually go do them, that we ultimately feel that satisfaction and that fulfillment and that joy that we are striving for ultimately. Right. And so those are a couple of things that come to mind. And then just making the most of the life that we have. Right. It's just like, God's what you want to do, go make the most of it. And so that's like a couple of messages that come to my head. I hope that can resonate with somebody. And at the end of the day, just do, because you literally won't know until you actually just go do it. Right. And like for so long, I was like thinking about the podcast, speculating about it, theorizing about it, until I actually sat down and recorded some, or actually until I opened the box of the microphone that had been sitting there for that long and decided to do something with it. That's when everything changed. And that's when I realized like that I recorded that episode, I published it, I recorded another, I published it. I went through the process of it. Right. I took those first steps running to get started in the process of just trying to get out in some fresh air. Right. Like, it wasn't until I was actually just doing the thing that I was thinking about that I realized, wow, this actually might be for me. Wow, I actually really do enjoy this. So, and then just day at a time, and day at a time with action can take you a lot of places. So, and then you look back and you're like, had to have been where you were to get to where you are. So I think that's about what I would say to that.
Great answer, man. Yeah. I mean, so many great takeaways. And again, this has been awesome. I love your passion. I love your drive, the concept of never being satisfied or content with what you're doing and always striving for more. I mean, I think that's so important because we always want to get fulfillment. And I think it's important to acknowledge those successes, but we can always bring in another level. We always can give more with things, whether it's for ourselves, for other people, whatever you're involved with. There's so much opportunity, so much to learn out there in this great life that many of us are able to live. So yeah, this was so much fun, Colin. Where, I'm hoping that the people who listen, they can go ahead and look you up and check out your podcast, check out your Instagram, check out your YouTube, because I know there's so much more great stuff to come from you as the months, years come on by. So where can everyone go ahead and find you? Go ahead and share that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Sam. And it's been fun to get on your show and see the success that you've had, because just like we were talking about before the show, everything that you're doing is organic and it's with good intention for the people that you're trying to serve and the people that you're trying to help in this running community. And so I just want to give props to you for using the tools and the resources at your disposal for creating this community that continues to very organically grow. I think that's the thing that's so cool. Like, nothing is forced, right? There's no manipulation behind it. It's just like, it's real, man. And it's authentic. And so I appreciate what you do. And like, if anybody wants to see how to be consistent, go look at Run Breiter's Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and content creation platforms, because Sam is putting out quality content that is super valuable and is daily and consistently being put out there. So I just want to take a quick chance to say that, Sam. So
thanks so much, man. Really, really appreciate that.
Yeah. You can find me. It's at Colin 2322. That's Colin with 2 O's, COOLIN 2322. That's a shout out back to everybody who knew me as Colin in college. So that's what stuck, man. So that's on Instagram. That's on TikTok. I just got on to TikTok after following Sam's lead here. So feel free to go on there, show me some love. Would love to connect with anybody. I mean, that's how Sam and I are literally here talking today, is because I reached out and we were able to connect over a social media platform, but it's actually created this connection and friendship that we have that is going to lead to us actually meeting in Austin, Texas. You just never know where one reach out can ultimately lead to. So I encourage you that if you want to connect or want to just, talk at all, reach out to me. Send me a message. So that's at Colin2322 on Instagram, TikTok. I have a YouTube channel that I just kicked off. So it's got some crazy URL. I just picked a handle today. It'll be Colin2322. I'm not sure if that's the thing, but you can look up Colin Walters, and that's first name, last name. You can also go to my podcast. It's called the Seeds of Success Podcast. And that's, where you'll be able to, in the show notes, find some of the URLs for the YouTube channel. So make sure to check that out if you have a sec. And that's about it, Sam.
Amazing. Well, can't thank you enough, Colin. So much fun. Everyone check out his pages. And Colin, I already know we're going to keep in touch over the next couple months. Can't wait to meet you in person in Austin. And, you're going to do great with all the things you're working on. So I know the viewers are going to really appreciate this episode. And if you ever need anything in the future, whether that's near or far, you always know, feel free to reach out, man. I got your back.
Of course, man. I know that. I appreciate it. Go crush this marathon this weekend. I already know that you're going to, and I'll see you in Boston, Sam.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah.